Hi class, today I am going to freehand the back plate of the mobile phone charging stand. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm working in a portraiture mode because it's a long sketch and I'm working on A4. So I'm going to sketch out as I would in class. I'm going to sketch out a box. I'm going to sketch it in an isometric format. The isometric format is my preferred view of the sketch, which, if I run my pencil parallel, I'm a little bit off there, so I'll pull it up just a little bit more and I'll pull it in. This box helps me frame where I'm putting the rest of the phone stand. So it still seems a little bit short, so I'll pull it up just a little bit more. I'm thinking about the proportion here so that it doesn't look fat and also so that it doesn't look thin. I want it looking just right. Is that angle right? Yes, it is. So, kind of thankful I made that little mistake there, because this line here I can use to help put in my curve, and I'm just putting a little center mark there to help me where my curve is, and I'm working very, very light so that this can be erased later on. I'm just pulling this up and round. For any of you that are thinking, oh, that's too hard, I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, I've been teaching this for a few years. However, I wasn't always that good at graphics. It's something that I've built up some skill over. I wouldn't say I'm the best, but at the end of the day, it's just a skill. It's like playing the piano. Anything that you do is going to become better with time. So that's me done the top curve. I'm now thinking, if that's 50 and this part's 80, the bottom part's 80 plus this little semicircle on the bottom, I want to start thinking about how far down this should be coming. So I'm thinking of maybe about here and here. So that's looking good. I'm going to just put a line, run my pencil up so that I'm putting my line parallel, so everything is running parallel to where it should be. Okay, so that's coming in there. Now if we remember from the working drawing, it comes in about 20 here and it comes in 20 there. So we want almost equal distance, and I'm just going to pull this line straight down very lightly. This is helping me define the overall length of it. Now, you could argue, or you could state at this point, well, Mr. Harrison, that looks a little bit too, it's not long enough, and I might be inclined to agree. So I'm just going to pull this rough box down just that little bit here. So pull that down. Okay, so just make sure everything's running parallel. Get rid of that line there. And that's making it look a little bit more proportionate to the image that we were working with. The halfway mark is sitting about here. And the radius on across this was 25. So the radius is probably just slightly above where that original line was, somewhere up here. So what I want to be doing is I want to be swinging this round and this one here round. So I'll just pull this round. As I'm working this, I'm rotating my paper as it helps me get that curve that I'm wanting. For those of you, one of the students today asked, well, you could probably draw a circle because your wrist is so wonky because you broke it a while back. Yeah, I probably could, but I'm still going to rotate the paper because that is best practice. I'm now going to go over this nice and dark. Okay, this is just a standard HB pencil. I'm not using anything fancy today. I am just using a HB pencil to sketch this out. Okay, so that's this in position. Now, the next thing that I want to do, I'm going to lightly project these lines up. Lightly project, lightly project. This one's come in just a little bit too far, so I'm just take my pencil, see where I've gone, see where I've gone wrong. Now, remembering back from the working drawing, the slits measure 5mm down and 5mm up from the bottom. So I'm going to gently and lightly just sketch a very thin slit. The thickness of these slits is important at this stage, as what it does is it will define the thickness of your this final sketch itself. So we want it to be nice and thin. We want to keep it in proportion, because remember, this is only 5mm thick. It's not any more than that. These lines running straight, yet they are. So I'm just going to go over these nice and dark now. Go over this one, nice and dark. There we go. So that's them nice and dark. I'm going to erase these markings out here. We want it looking quite clean. Our secret is as well, when we're drawing these type of sketches, you want to have a clean eraser. You also want to have a very sharp pencil and space. Okay, so I want to now define the thickness of this. I'm just looking, that's a bit thicker than that. How could I fix that? I'll just make it that little bit thicker. I could either make one thicker or one thinner. So, there we go. That's it, they're looking a bit more equal now. One thing as markers we look for symmetry, and we look for proportion with your sketching. Okay, so that looks nice and neat there. Next thing I now want to start to look at is the thickness. So remember my 30 degrees, I was about to say 45 degrees, my 30-degree thickness line, or isometric line I should say. This is going to tell us how thick this should be. So the thickness of this will be determined on how thick or how deep or wide, whatever you want to call it, this dimension here, which is 5. So we want that in there, and we just want to pull it up ever so lightly and just gently lead it up. Don't go buck wild. Don't try to do this very thick, because if you try to do it very thick, what's going to happen? You're going to have lots of smudgy marks all over your paper. So bring that up 30 degrees. All my lines are going to follow 30 degrees. So this one here, 30 degrees, 30 degrees. There is no back edge to see because this is 30 degrees. I'm happy that I wouldn't see the back end there. If I was, it would be very, very slight, so we can get away without putting the back end in. Now, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull this up dark. And I'm going to stop. I've got to think, how is this curve going to come in? Well, if I imagine 30 degrees running there, that's the center point. This is going to lead up, and it's going to gently follow the curve that's already there. Gently follow the curve, but it's not going to stop there. You're going to have to bring it down just that little bit. Just that little bit on the back. I take my eraser, get rid of that mark because you wouldn't actually see that in real life. And there we go. So this is my top edge done. I can start erasing the working parts of the framework I put in place. Down this side here, there wouldn't actually be anything there. There wouldn't be anything in there. I'll get rid of that as well. Oh, no, I'll keep that for now. So, same thing applies. This time I'm going to run my line, try to ensure it's the same thickness. Proportion's very important, and just bring it straight down. And if we think, where is this one going to be? This one itself would be further back. If we sketch in a rough block here, it would be coming in there like that. So it would be like the top edge here, but down at the bottom. So it wouldn't come all the way down to the bottom here, because you wouldn't actually see it. It would come in somewhere like here, and it would into this point down here. There would be like an imaginary point. What I'll do is I'll just erase that little working line there. Erase this out now. And I'll just darken this up. Okay, just checking the camera, making sure everything looks good. That's the back plate done. Now, for the two tenons, simple tip that I can give you. Sketch. We're not going to attach them yet. All we're working on is improving our sketching skills. So 30 degrees, 30 degrees. Keep the proportion. Keep it in proportion. And this is the top part. So let's think. The top part, it's got a 5mm gap all the way around. That 5mm is about the same thickness as there. So we can use that as our baseline to help us keep things in proportion. So I'm happy with this internal one. Just go for this nice and dark. I'm also happy with this back edge, so we can go right there, and this front edge here. I'm happy with this edge here. Cool. Now the back edge, if we remember, this tenon size measures 50. So we want to go in the middle here, and we just want to ensure things are somewhat equal. About there, I think. And it's only a 5mm thickness, that tenon. It sticks in the back. So again, just keeping things as proportionate as we can. Sketch in. There we go. So that's the top view. Am I happy with it? Well, it seems to be getting a bit wider there, so I'm just going to do a little bit of magic with my pencil and the razor. There we go. It just, something didn't seem right there just with that sketch. Okay, now back edge here, it's 5mm. Done. Front edge, 5mm. 5mm. Pull it up. 5mm down here. $5mm there. Next, I'll pull this down 5mm. Imagine something in here. There we go. I'll pull this down, straight down to the very edge here. That's it done. That's tenon A. Tenon B. I want to try and keep things the same size. Easiest way to do it is I'm going to start projecting this one down. I'm just going to project the widths. Keep the widths the same. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to project this line. I'm going to keep the angle the same, dragging it down, drag it down. Keep the front edge the same thickness throughout, 50 mil. Drag it down. Just do that nice front edge there, this edge here. The only difference between this tenon and the one above, there is no hole in it. Project this upwards now, 30 degrees. 30 degrees. So is that straight? Yes, it is. That looks good there. Now, this back edge here, again, I'm going to project this back. Try to keep it as parallel as I can. Use my pencil as a guide. And project this back lightly. I'm not going heavy this time. The reason why I'm not going heavy is I've still got this back edge of this tenon here to do. So if I project this line straight down, project it straight down, use my pencil as my guide, it's going to come in somewhere about here. Then you can project upwards like that, put it along the back edge, very lightly, don't worry about overshooting it. I can then project this point here and I can pull it down. So it's coming in just about there, and pull that in 30 degrees, keeping it parallel. So all I now need to do, go over this nice and dark. So it's a little bit thick, just make that a bit thicker there. And just go around this, clean up the edges. Give it a name, give it a date. So what we're going to date this as, well, today's date is the 24th of August 2020. It is Isometric parts phone holder, Mr. Harrison. Done. Didn't take me long. It's done, it's finished, ready to move on to the next task, or in your case, the next bit of homework that yourselves have got for other subjects.